You slept like a bump on a log last night, Billy. I had to bang and bang on the frying pan to wake you up for breakfast. And speaking of logs, we'll soon be seeing log houses belonging to the settlers.
We're coming out of the trees at last. There's sunlight everywhere.
The land opens out here. Our wheels make shiny black tracks in the earth.
I see a log cabin. There must be room for lots of people out here.
And the soil is rich for raising crops.
4 pigs in a pen by the cabin. There's a cornfield, and another.
And Blue looking pretty upset about those pigs. Say, do you see what I see?
You mean over there? I see a flag. An American flag.
It's the fort. Most of the settlers either live inside or nearby. All the houses and the walls around them are made out of logs. Those tiny windows are the loopholes through which the guards can aim their rifles.
I see a little girl in the cornfield. That must be your mother with her. Both wearing boots, just like the men do. The stalks of green corn stand higher than the girl. Her red bonnet looks like a scoop for scooping sugar out of a sugar barrel.
The corn at this end of the field is so high I can hardly see the mother's bonnet now. Say, Red Bonnet was a pretty girl, wasn't she?
Oh, sorta. Maybe. Anyhow, I bet I could do just as much work as she could, and more.
Don't forget that pioneer girls work hard. Perhaps it was a lady who wrote the song about the young man who wouldn't hoe corn. Yes, I think so. The young man in that song was a bump on a log, even when he stood on his own 2 feet and walked about.
I'll sing you a song, and it's not very long. It's about a young man who wouldn't hoe corn. The reason why I can't tell, 'cause this young man was always well.
I planted my corn in the month of June, and in July it was most knee-high. The 1st of September came a big frost, and all this young man's corn was lost.
He went to the fence and there peeped in. The weeds and the grass came up to his chin. The weeds and grass, they grew so high, they caused this young man for to sigh.
So I went down to my neighbor's door, where I had often been before. Pretty little miss, will you marry me? Pretty little miss, what do you say?
Now here you are wanting me to wed, and you can't even make your own cornbread. Single I am and single I'll be. A lazy man I'll not have by me.
Yes, that young man was no prize to the West. Let me see. We'll drive in through this gate and take Bess to the stockade barn. Afterwards, we can leave the horses in the stable. Now, if you were to live here, this is where you'd go to school, Billy. The boys and girls learn to play games, and later they learn to read, write, and add numbers.
The school only has one room. The floor is just dirt. Why, Blue could dig out the floor of that school in no time.
Dirt floor or not, the women and men who teach in the frontier schools are fine people, and the children usually learn a lot from them. Now, if you were going to school here, you'd be able to read this paper nailed to the wall. And I think you'd like what it says, too, because the schoolroom is where the townfolk meet to make plans or sometimes to have a party.
Does it say a party?
A party and a dance tonight.
The girl in the red bonnet might come to the party. Of course, I know I don't care too much.
Well, of course not. Not too much. Let's sit on this hitching post for a moment. We can watch the stockade folk come and go. Look, there's an Indian riding in on his pony. He's going to the general store with a load of animal furs.
A real Indian. Gosh, he has feathers and a bow and arrows, and green lines painted on his face and arms. Nobody stopped him.
Well, he's a friendly Indian. Most of them are.
He doesn't look too friendly. I mean, he isn't smiling.
Well, probably he's thinking about what he hopes to get in trade for his furs. He may want some cloth or a mirror or maybe even a toy for one of his children.
Have you ever had to fight Indians, Mr. Pioneer?
Well, I did once in earlier days. A whole train of covered wagons were going west to the state of Oregon, and I went along to help guard the train. And whenever we stopped on the plains, we drew up our wagons in a big square. We cooked and slept in the middle of the square. It was safer that way against attack. Sure enough, one day we came to a wide prairie where lived a tribe of Indians who didn't want anybody to cross their land.
I'll sing you a song, though it may be a sad one, of trials and troubles and where first begun. I left my whole family, my friends back at home, and we crossed the wide prairies and rivers to roam. We heard of Sioux Indians all out on the plains, attacking poor drivers and burning their trains, attacking poor drivers with arrows and bow. When captured by Indians, no mercy they'd show.
First, we saw smoke signals blackening the sky. Then we heard the sound of tom-toms. Our scouts told us an attack was coming, and how right they were. The Indian braves came at us riding their ponies faster than lightning, whooping their wild war whoops and shooting whiz, whiz, whiz arrows into our wagons. Thunk, those arrows hit wood, and they went in so deep you might have thought it was butter instead of wood. Whiz, thunk, over and over. We had our wagons in a tight square quicker than you can cry out White Buffalo, who happened to be the chief of the Indians. But the Indians rode leaning far to one side of their ponies, and they made sure to ride so that the sun would be in our eyes. We fired our long rifles until the barrels were sizzling hot. They must have known we weren't going to give up. Even the women and children helped out by loading the empty rifles and keeping the horses quiet. Then they began to shoot burning arrows at the roofs of our wagon. Some of the roofs caught fire. Luckily, we had a few kegs of water left. Again, it was the women and children who raced and jumped about to put out the flames. The fighting stopped at last. White Buffalo made a sign to show that he wanted to speak with our leader. When he found out we only wanted to pass through his land to reach Oregon, he was glad. Everyone shook hands, which is how we show trust. And next we all smoked a pipe of peace, 1 or 2 puffs to a man, which is the Indian way of showing trust. White Buffalo was a strange name. He told us he was named so because on the day he was born, some of the wise people in the tribe had seen a white buffalo trotting quite alone across the wide prairie. And I'll never forget the buffaloes.
Come all you western skinners and listen to my song. There are not many verses, it will not hold you long. It's concerning those young fellows who did agree to go and spend their summers hunting on the range of the buffalo.
Big black and brown bruising buffaloes, gray when they'd grown old, snorting, stamping, huge, hairy, always together trotting their heavy bodies across the prairies. Red eyes everywhere. The buffaloes ran under a dark ocean of dust, hoofs booming. They wanted only grass and water and each other, all those buffaloes, each other. Many men hunted the buffalo for its skin, its bones, its meat, its horn. Poor buffalo. There was little time left to wander together in herds after the hunters came. I'll never forget the buffaloes. The prairie was never really empty. Most of the time it seemed empty, yet there were all the little out-of-sight animals living under the ground. If I'd been a prairie dog or a jackrabbit, I know that I would have lived under the ground too, away from the hot sun and the hawks that dive from the sky. I'd dig a deep hole and only come out in the cool of the night with my ears wide, wide open. I'd run fast whenever I was atop the ground. I'd sniff the air, look, tip my head, and sniff again. Hop, hippity-hop, sniff. I'd also look out for the rattlesnakes. Creeping, crawling rattlesnakes. Rattler will tell when he's mad. He'll rattle before he strikes, but he's afraid also, as afraid as anybody. He's afraid of being stepped on. When he's molting, getting rid of all his old skin to leave room for the new skin, the old skin covers his eyes and he can't see a thing. He's terribly afraid then. Would you like to be poked just as you pulled your sweater off over your head? No, neither does the rattler. Still, the prairie did look so empty, and it was never empty. There was the weather, so I found out. The flat prairie was much closer to the sky than the ocean is. The air is not the same and the colors are not the same. Lightning jumps across the sky, not always white or yellow light, sometimes pink or violet. Hailstones fall as big as snowballs, but made of ice. Duck under your wagon then, or the hail will bounce off your head and start a goose egg under your hat. The wind, too, piling snow up as high as your head in winter, blowing dust all summer so that you have to wear a big handkerchief across your face. Once I saw a special storm, a tornado, a twister as folks call it, or the devil's dance, a cloud of black, whirling, rushing air which lifts and carries away anything in its way, even wagons or buffaloes. When the devil's dance goes by, it's best to find a cellar and stay in it. The prairie was never really empty for me, even at night. The stars looked as if they'd been pinned on the sky like stars on a Christmas tree. The air was so clear, the stars looked no further away than that.
Oh, bury me on the lone prairie. These lips seem low and mournfully. From the pale white lips of a man who lay
was so much room on the prairie. Everywhere that I looked was like looking a little downhill, yet the ground on which I stood was flat. All the land was one flat field. 1, 2, 3 dark spots floated in the sky, a mother hawk, a father hawk, and their baby. The sun seemed bigger than ever before. There were no houses, no people, and no trees between myself and the sky. All the blue air and bright light and brown earth, all that space made me a bit dizzy, but I liked it. The earth was dry, but it looked good for growing things if ever man could fill up rivers that were empty and bring water from the mountains down to the rich earth below. Across the prairie, at last, I saw the Rocky Mountains poking up out of the line where air and earth came together. These mountains were white with snow. I thought they were clouds until I looked a second time at them. We dragged and pulled our wagons across the great Rocky Mountains. In the middle of summer, we made snowballs from the snow lying near the tops of the highest mountains. I found a big icicle, too, hanging from a gray rock, although the top of the rock was warm in the sun. The icicle was in the shade. It looked just like my long rifle would have looked made out of glass. We crossed more prairies and sandy deserts. We thought we would never be able to cross America from coast to coast. And then at last, we came to gentler mountains covered with trees that were straighter and taller than any trees we'd ever seen before. Silver streams ran through thick green grass. We came out from the green hills and fields to a blue ocean, the second ocean. This was the Pacific Ocean. We had crossed America. We were in the state of Oregon. We were proud and happy. Imagine our surprise when we saw sailing ships on the water, the same schooners we had seen in the Atlantic Ocean bobbing up and down. "How were you able to get here?" we asked the sailors. They laughed. We must have looked even more surprised when they told us that they had sailed all the way around Cape Horn, which is at the very tip of South America. Sailors are pioneers in their own way, pioneers of the ocean at least, but they aren't settlers. At the end of their trips, they have no wish to settle down. Settled or not, they like to sing songs on their ships while pulling on ropes to raise and lower the sails or to do the same for the anchor. They sing about themselves and about traveling to South America and California and Oregon from the east coast of America.
Cape Cod girls, they have no combs. Heave away, heave away. They comb their hair with codfish bones. We are bound for California. Heave away, my bully, bully boys. Heave away, heave away. Heave away, my bully, bully boys. We are bound for California. Cape Cod boys, they have no sleds. Heave away, heave away. They slide down hills on codfish heads. We are bound for California. Heave away, my bully, bully boys. Heave away, heave away. Heave away, my bully, bully boys. We are bound for California. Cape Cod porcupines have no quills. Heave away, heave away. They line their sides with codfish gills. We are bound for California. Heave away, my bully, bully boys. Heave away, heave away. Heave away, my bully, bully boys. We are bound for California. Cape Cod girls, they have no combs. Heave away, heave away. They comb their hair with codfish bones. We are bound for California. Heave away, my bully, bully boys. Heave away, heave away. Heave away, my bully, bully boys. We are bound for California.
Yes, Billy Buckskin, that's my story of going to Oregon and to California as well.
That was a wonderful story.
Oh, glad you liked it. And now it's time to go to the party.
I'd almost forgotten. Come on, Blue.
On the way, we can make sure Bess and the horses have been fed. Then we'll follow the music.
People are coming in from all over in their best clothes. I'm glad settlers don't work all the time.
There's Red Bonnet over in the far corner. She's smiling at you. That's a pretty red dress she's got on. Why don't you join in the dancing with her?
Oh, I don't dance.
She might teach you to dance.
Oh, no. Maybe I might go over and talk with her a little bit, though. I'll be right back.
Now, am I meant to think Billy will be right back? Because I don't. Not when there's a pretty girl to teach you a dance step, and a big fiddler with a pink face and practically bald who can play the whiskers off a cat with one arm scratching his big toe at the same time. Look at that fiddler play. And here comes Billy dancing with that girl right past me, with never a look toward me. Billy, I believe you had the time of your life tonight, hopping around that floor like a fly with a nose full of pepper.
Dancing was all right, but I'd rather drive a wagon and explore. I didn't see you dancing.
No, I was tucked away in one corner talking with two gentlemen, one from Texas and one from Arkansas. It was very funny for a while.
Funny?
Well, first the gentleman from Texas said, "Oh, do you come all the way from Arkansas then, stranger?" And the man from Arkansas seemed to have a very tight collar just then. "And did you say that you were from Texas?" this gentleman asked. "Because to tell the truth, I've heard about 100 people say that if you turned this whole country sidewise for a moment, all the loose people would go to Texas." And then the man from Texas seemed to get an awful tight collar. "Stranger," he said to the man from Arkansas, "did you know that if the state of Texas was taken away from this country would look a little bit like a mule with only 3 legs? That's how important my home state is." Well, you might not believe it, but the man from Arkansas then said this: "Bite a chunk out of the sun, pull all the catfish out of the rivers, and turn yourself into a purple squirrel, too. But think you can ever change the name of Arkansas into anything else?" Ha, ha, ha.
Did they fight?
They did not. They ended up laughing with one another. Of course, they still each think their own state is best, but pioneers have to get along with each other no matter where they come from.
Pioneers. From everywhere.
There'll always be new Wests to look for, Billy. At least there will be, just as long as young people like you want to find them.
Where is the one who will go out west with me? We'll live in some wide open place and happy we will be. We'll have a little cabin with a ground for the floor, with no glass in the window and a bearskin for the door.
So will you go out west? Will you go out west? Will you go out west with me? Will you go out west? Will you go out west? Oh, say, will you go out west with me?